Technology has made everything seamless, and even though you're in Nigeria, you have access to everything everyone has access to around the world. And no matter what you keep hearing about Nigeria, I want you to know that you can be anything and you can do anything.
You're watching the Career Series powered by MTN. I'm your host, Talula Doherty Aditono, and today we are joined by the CEO of WhoGoHost, Mr. Toba Obaniyi. And WhoGoHost is Nigeria's foremost domain provider with over 60,000 clients based all around the world. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So you've been in the role of CEO for over 10 years, which is a really expansive amount of time. There's startups watching who would like to know tips and tricks and tools that they can use to grow their businesses so their businesses can enjoy the sort of longevity that WhoGoHost is enjoying.
Well, I would say that, at least from my experience, one of the first things that startups need to figure out is the value proposition. What are they offering to their users? Because if they get that wrong, they would not get it right, no matter how hard they try. I think that the first thing that any business needs to figure out is what makes their business unique and what value are they selling or offering to their customers. Understand the value they're creating, understand their competition, and then understanding how they can capture more of that value. Now, once they have that figured out, depending on the kind of business that they're using or the kind of business that they're into or the industry that they are, serving, I think that they then need to understand how to save costs, how to market to their customers. They need to understand the kind of customers that they're targeting, and then where to reach those customers. Do they reach those customers online? Do they reach them offline? And then what are cost-effective ways that they can reach those customers? And they need to also identify brands that they can partner with, because I think partnership is one of the easiest ways to get out there, especially if you're offering a service that you see that there are a lot of potential people that you can work with, partner with, that have your kind of audience there, and they need to get people to know about them. And I mean, there's a lot that can be done depending on the kind of business that you're into. But I have, from my experience, I would say for WhoGoHost, what happened in our case is that we were able to convince people about our service in the early days. In the early days, we were one of the very few hosting companies in Nigeria.
Okay.
And the value that we were offering at that time was the fact that you could get your website online and you pay using your local card. Because at that time, similar to what we have now, you couldn't use your local card to pay in dollars. And while there were several hosting companies outside the country, people could not actually pay with their local Naira card. And so that's one thing we offered our customers.
Yes.
And then we also offered our customers very, very great support. That's one thing that we don't play with and we don't joke even till date, right? And so customers could actually engage with us in ways they could not with even the international brands. They could call us on phone, chat with us, and then we invested in ensuring that we supported our customer 24/7 support. And so those were the things that we used to distinguish ourselves in the market. And then one of the interesting things is that in the early days, we didn't do any marketing.
Oh, that's very interesting. So how were you able to get the word out about the company?
That's the beautiful thing. Our customers were telling other people about us. So I think that once you have that first thing figured out, the value you're offering, and you're able to get customers to love your brand, those customers will even tell people for free about you. And that's what actually happened. We're solving a unique problem. Now, this was the days where getting online was just, becoming a thing. And so once a person just said, oh, I need to get a website, I said, why don't you use WhoGoHost? And that's what happened in our case. So people started referring us to other people simply because, they used our service and were able to give them value. And so they recommended people.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. So looking back, on your years of experience, and obviously over time you have tried to continuously develop yourself in a professional sense. Are there any risks that you took that you feel helped you boost your career in a forward direction?
Well, if I should tell the story of my career, I think it all started with a risk, because at the time when I joined WhoGoHost was really nothing close to what it is today. and I had a great degree, right? I mean, I could probably work anywhere I wanted to, but at that time, I was interested in building myself. I wanted to get some real skills, and at that time, I was just fresh out of school, no real skills, and so I worked with Okpeyemi then. He founded Innovate Nigeria, which was a web design company, and WhoGoHost was just a small part of it. And so I started actually as a website designer. And after some point, WhoGoHost now became a bigger thing for us. And so I'll say the biggest risk for me at that time was at some point Okoyemi needed to focus on Jobberman because also a co-founder of Jobberman at that time, and he wanted and he asked me if I was going to run the business. I had absolutely no idea how to run a business. I'd never done it before.
Yes.
And so I had no idea what I was doing, and I had people dependent on me. I had a company dependent on me. And I think that once you give value, once you do the right things, once you focus on people, it may seem slow, but it's just a matter of time before you get the rewards you're looking for.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
So for startups wanting to forge relationships with, multinationals and global companies, what steps do you advise that they should take? Because it can seem a little bit intimidating sometimes to try to reach out and even propose partnerships with these larger scale companies.
Well, I'll just speak from my experience. What has happened in our case is that first we did something. We were able to show that we're valuable and we're doing something great in Nigeria. And then after that, just reach out. I mean, one of the easiest ways to do that, identify the branch you want to work with, and you can reach out to them on LinkedIn, identify a key managing partner, for example, or maybe the head of partnerships. And then you also have to identify what the win-win is, right? So why should they partner with you? What value are you bringing to them? So for example, you could see an opportunity for that brand to come into Nigeria, and you can say that you are very well positioned as the ideal partner for them to succeed in Nigeria, identifying the fact that, and I think this is what a lot of global brands know, that it's always best to partner with local partners that are coming in, right? So you show what you're doing already and show them the value that you are proposing and the opportunities that exist. And if you're already doing something successful, I mean, it's much easier compared to if you just are starting off, you've not done anything and you're trying to make a promise of what could happen, because they would probably do some research and find out, if they can partner with you. I think in our case, many of our partnerships were not intentional, especially at the early days. It was really just the fact that at some point they even reached out to us, and because our brand has grown to be the largest in this space, a lot of people want to work with us, and that's definitely something that works. Once you're able to show that you know what you're doing, you're skilled at what you're doing, and you have value to bring in, it's much easier to make it. But one thing I've learned is that the worst that will happen is they will not respond or they'll say no. But you lose nothing. Just try.
I like that. Just give it a shot, just reach out.
Absolutely.
The tech industry in Nigeria is really, really booming. We have a unicorn that's come out of Africa, as we all know. So what sort of tech solutions do you think can be implemented by tech experts in order to further boost Nigeria's economy?
If that question was easy to answer, for the jump right in, right? But I would say, let's talk a bit about the unicorn you mentioned. Fintech has actually been a very, very interesting space in Nigeria, and there's been a lot of products and solutions coming out of there. And what has really happened is technology has been used to improve a very important problem, which is ability to trade and move money from one place to another very easily.
Yes.
I remember in the early days of WhoGoHost, there weren't a lot of payment gateway options, and the only ones that were available were InterSwitch. And InterSwitch required a whole lot of things. You had to be registered with CAC, you had to go through a lot of processes, and then even when you integrate, which was not very easy, then you have meetings with their tech team before they even onboard you. So anybody that had a payment gateway was a big boy at that time, right? And then the likes of Paystack, Flutterwave came up, and they made it so easy. But now fintech has gone beyond payment gateways to virtual accounts for businesses, to POS terminals, and the likes like that, because it actually impacts everybody. And with CBN's push for a cashless economy, it then makes a lot of sense because people want to be able to do business faster, easier without exchange of physical cash. But then some people argue that fintech is now completely saturated with so many solutions out there. So what's the next thing? I think that technology is really, the kind of solutions that would make sense in Nigeria would be solutions that use technology to solve critical problems like fintech has done. What are the challenges we have in Nigeria that every man goes through? And how can we use technology to solve this problem? So the point I'm trying to make is that the next big thing in Nigeria would be a technology solution that will solve the average man's problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and also just for enlarging and expanding our minds with, the ideas that you've put forward. I really appreciate you, and more grace to your elbow. Thank you.
For having me. Thank you.